morning, good afternoon, good evening. Zimbabwe has just had its elections last year, and yet both the ruling party, Zanu PF, and the main opposition, CCC, are still in the campaign mode. Indeed, it's hotting up. You would think the country is going to have another election in a few months' time. Most of it is, of course, pure propaganda. Zanu PF has been constructing projects. In the picture there is the highway from Harare city center to the new Mount Pleasant Parliament, a two-lane causeway, one up, one down, with 2 lanes in each, with palm trees down the middle. And as we can see there, it's being celebrated as Nyika inovakwa nevene vayo, brick by brick. This is typical common feature in Zimbabwe, where a river, a bridge, a road, long overdue, is constructed and is celebrated with big song and dance. And more often than not, that road is long overdue, and the nation has paid an arm and a leg for it because of the corruption. And meanwhile, the reality is many of the country's infrastructure we inherited in 1980 are in an advanced stage of rot and decay because of neglect. Here is what British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher once said about economic wealth.
Countries are not rich in proportion to their natural resources. If they were, Russia would now be the richest country in the world. Angola would be very rich, and there are many other countries that have a lot of natural resources, but they have not had an enterprise economy to develop those resources. Russia has everything: oil, gas, diamonds, platinum, gold, silver, timber, marvelous soil, but has been poor. She's also, on the second point, got very bad environment, the Aral Sea. I remember going to one communist country in about the 60s and seeing a powder coming out of a chimney of brown gas, which of course is a nitrous gas. And I was absolutely horrified. I said, well, what are you doing letting that happen? The lungs of the people must be terrible. This is acid. You can't let that go on. Tact has never been my strong point, as you know. And it is the countries that have had the wrong system, which have not created the wealth, have not cared about people. Look at the other side. Japan, no natural resources. Switzerland, no natural resources. Taiwan, no natural resources. It is the political system which enhances the enterprise of the people and gives it a framework within which to operate, which will deal with this poverty.
Zimbabwe had inherited We did inherit a robust infrastructure in 1980. Roads, hospitals, railway network, bridges, generators, hospitals, you name it. Zimbabwe was an upper middle income nation in 1980. This is the sorry state of some of those roads we inherited in 1980. They've been neglected. This is one of the A roads in Zimbabwe. And one can only imagine the sorry state of some of the minor roads. And yet, the regime maintains the country is on course to achieve its upper middle income status by 2030. This has been the cornerstone of Mnangagwa's so-called Second Republic. We are 7 years down this road of the Second Republic. And yet, we are nowhere near building the infrastructure that will support an upper middle income status. It's all propaganda. And as if not to be outdone, Chamisa himself that he's going to bring change. Here is one of his latest campaign posters proclaiming to the nation that change is coming. It's amazing. Chamisa and his MDC friends have been on the political platform since 1999 when the party was launched. The party was called the Movement for Democratic Change, to underline their primary purpose, to bring democratic change. And yet, 25 years down the line, including 5 during the GNU, they cannot name even one token democratic change they've brought. Not even one. Last year, Chamisa himself promised the people that Triple C would win the elections. He had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes to guarantee that change. Hashtag God is in it. And so the people participated in those flawed elections on the belief that Chamisa had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifo iri. Plan ya Mwari haifo iri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Of course, change did not take place. Zanu PF went on to blatantly rig those elections. So Chamisa was lying when he said he plugged food tricking loopholes. And now he's back again, promising people that change is coming. All he's doing, of course, is enticing the people of Zimbabwe to participate in the 2028 elections without even a token reform implemented. And by participating in these flawed elections, he and the people have been warned that if you participate, you give the process credibility. You give the results legitimacy. And this is the reason why, although SADC's election observer team condemned last year's elections, SADC as a body could not bring themselves to denying Zanu PF political legitimacy because the people had participated in their millions. And here we are. We are being conned into once again participating in these flawed elections. This is just an endless cycle. We should be implementing reforms to make sure that 2028 elections are free, fair, and credible. After 44 years of rigged elections, you'd think everybody would be saying, right, let's get this right. Let's implement these reforms so that we do not have rigged elections. But alas, the nation is being conned into going into another flawed electoral process, promised that change is coming, that we do not need reforms, because Chamisa will no doubt be announcing that he has got a whole toolbox full of strategies of how to win rigged elections. And alas, the people will believe it. And they'll participate in those flawed elections. And the country will be back to where we are. This is so depressing. It really is unbelievable. The way we keep shooting ourselves in the foot. The way we have let both Zanu PF and MDC-CCC blatantly lie to us, promising us Vision 2030, which we all know is a mirage, promising us change, which we also know is a mirage. Here is BBC taking Nelson Chamisa to task on some of his lies.
Ende patakasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Serious questions were raised about your behaviour in Washington, D.C. You did see some senior people on Capitol Hill, some Congress people, but you also claimed that you'd seen Donald Trump. You claimed you had a conversation with him in which you said he asked you how much you needed to move the country forward. You told him $15 billion, and he said to you that he would provide the money if you won the election. That was not true, was it?
Sangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
It was not true that you'd seen Donald Trump and that Donald Trump indicated to you that he would provide, if you won the election, $15 billion.
All those statements were said by other people, not what I said.
Kasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana
Well, no, because there is a video which shows you at a rally in January back home in Zimbabwe saying that Donald Trump had pretty much promised you $15 billion. To be clear, because some people in Zimbabwe are still confused, you're now telling me you did not meet Donald Trump.
We did not.
The truth of the matter is, if a day-old monkey was asked about Vision 2030, he'll give his reply in the middle finger salute, because it's nonsense. If the same day-old monkey was asked about Nelson Chamisa's promise to bring change, change is coming, I think he too would give Chamisa's claim the middle finger salute. The tragedy for Zimbabwe is there are millions of Zimbabweans on both sides of the political divide who either believe the Vision 2030, even though there is absolutely no sign. After 7 years of Mnangagwa's Second Republic, there's no sign of economic recovery. If anything, things are getting worse. Just as much as there is no sign of any meaningful democratic change. After 25 years of MDC CCC, not even a token reform, democratic change has been delivered. And yet there are Zimbabweans out there who will play their part in keeping both Zanu PF and CCC in power. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. If we do not open our eyes and our minds, we are not getting out of this mess. One of the things that both Zanu PF and CCC MDC have successfully done is convince the people that they are helpless without the political parties. That is a myth. The whole principle of democracy as the government of the people, for the people, by the people, is that the people themselves are the ones who have got the power. But like the ancient Greeks noted, the people must be educated, knowledgeable, and diligent if they're going to have that power and exercise it. At the present moment, the people in Zimbabwe are ignorant, naive, and gullible. And that's why they keep believing Zanu PF's idiotic lies of Vision 2030 when the economy is all but collapsed. And that's why 25 years after the formation of MDC, people still believe the lies that the opposition are going to win big without implementing any meaningful reforms to stop Zanu PF freaking the elections. So we keep on having these contradictions, but it's all because the people themselves are ignorant. My main message today is that knowledge is power. And the people should focus on acquiring knowledge, understanding what is going on, because only then can they have the confidence to realize that they are being taken for a ride. That vision 2030 is a mirage. That Chamisa's promise to deliver change after 25 years without even one token reform, token change implemented, is also a mirage. Knowledge is power. And the number one emphasis in Zimbabwe today should be acquiring knowledge. Zanu PF and Chamisa and company are not interested in educating the people. Indeed, they prefer to keep the people ignorant, poor, and utterly helpless for the purposes of exploiting them and staying in power. I'll conclude this discussion today with a short clip where Margaret Dongo is explaining why the rural people.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor, because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
So my message today is that knowledge is power. I think the citizens of Zimbabwe have been taken for a ride for the last 44 years. And the only way that can end is if the citizens themselves are educated. There is absolutely no excuse in this day and age, with all the available technology on information, that so many people should remain ignorant. People should seek to be educated, to be knowledgeable, and should be diligent. That, and only then can we have a really healthy and functioning democracy. I honestly believe that Zanu PF's 2030, Vision 2030, is a mirage. And I give it the middle finger salute. I also equally believe that Chamisa's promise that change is coming is a mirage. And I give it the middle finger salute. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.